up? Happy Monday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. It's a beautiful Monday, still fun day. No Jim Monis with us today, Jared, but some crazy games yesterday.
Whew.
The Lions win. The Bucks get shut out. Were you expecting any of this?
No, and neither was the market. The Bucks were a
No.
11-point. So we had two. Let's just put this in perspective.
Okay,
Over the last 2 years, in the month of December, only two double-digit favorites have lost straight up. The last two seasons, the whole month. So a half of a month, and then last season, the full month. Yesterday, we had two double-digit favorites lose. It matched the entire sample size from the last year and then this year, the entire month of December. So it was a very volatile day for NFL favorites. It was a great day for the sports books. A lot of backdoor covers. The Ravens with that backdoor cover certainly killed a lot of teasers with the Packers. You go from 9-2. They won by 1. Good luck explaining that as Harbaugh goes for it again, goes for 2. And the Chiefs, who played on Thursday night, they wake up today after the Titans loss in first place in the AFC.
Crazy.
So there's a lot of shakeup at the top, and the Bucks losing. The Packers now first place in the NFC. The playoff picture really coming into focus. We see 3 favorites now at the top of the market: Chiefs, Bucks, and Packers. Those are your 3 favorites heading into this week. But I guess week 15 not really over yet. Still 4 games left.
Yeah, we're going to break it all down during our MCM segment. Man Crush Monday. Just kidding. Market Correction Monday, because I know Jared is looking forward to touching on all of these teams a little bit. We have Monday morning therapy, Jared, because I know that you're struggling a little bit. You might need to take a breath after that Bucks loss, right? Because it ruined your perfect weekend for sports betting. I'm sorry. We're not going to bring it up now. We'll talk about it in a
give me a
little
minute
bit,
to breathe.
Take a breath. Smell the coffee. We have not one, but 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. We have Gilles Gallant coming on to talk a little bit about that with us. And then we have the Myrtle Beach Bowl, which not a bad place to play a bowl game, right? Between Old and Tulsa. That's going to be a fun one. We have our picks for that game. And then we can't end without our best bets of the day and our Pickswise 3-star play of the day. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's bet it. MCM, Market Correction Monday. Every Monday, we look at how the market overreacts, because it tends to do that after seeing some of the games on Sunday, seeing some of the games on Thursday. Let's look in at some of the Super Bowl moves on FanDuel right now. Packers to win the Super Bowl, plus 700 to plus 500. Aaron Rodgers officially tied Brett Favre for all-time passing touchdown record in that game. They win over the Ravens. What did you see from them in that one?
Yeah, you know what Aaron Rodgers also did is he pulled to the favorite spot, the catbird seat, to win the MVP. He is now tied at FanDuel with Tom Brady at plus 160 to win the NFL MVP. So a great day for Aaron Rodgers. Not a great day for the Packers defense, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah. They fell behind early in that game. They were able to, pull ahead, and they had a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter, and they let Tyler Huntley run left, right, and center all over the field. They really should have tied the game, and I know John Harbaugh aggressive with his strategy of going for 2 late in that game. But, sometimes the analytics and the momentum of the game differ. And what I mean by that is Tyler Huntley just drove it in 5 minutes right down the field twice against the Packers, scoring 2 touchdowns. I think that's a spot at home with your crowd and momentum that you kick the extra point and you go to overtime. And maybe that's just me. Maybe you give it back to Aaron Rodgers with 40 seconds left and he hits 1-2 passes and Crosby hits a field goal and the Packers win the game, doesn't go to overtime. Perhaps there's 40 seconds left. But I don't know. For me, that was an interesting decision. But it favored the Packers. They were able to get the stop in the 2-point conversion. They won the game. They're now 5-1 to win the Super Bowl. And that, to me, if you've been following our futures columns all year, we bought low on the Packers when they had their little dip a few weeks ago. And I feel great about that position. I think they're the best team in the NFC top to bottom. I think the Bucks have way too many injuries in the secondary. And now last night, they got banged up on offense with Evans and Godwin and Fournette. So right now, to me, the Packers, despite all the crap in the NFC and all those teams that are kind of fighting for position, right now it's the Packers at the top of the heap for me.
Let's talk a little bit about some division winners, because the Bills to win the AFC East moved from plus 250 to plus 130. I know that you and Jim have been pretty frustrated with the Bills over the last few weeks in terms of betting them, right? They were your Monday morning therapy team for like 3 weeks running. Not super pretty for a win over the Panthers, but they got it done. They gained ground in the AFC East race. They look in decent shape to return to the playoffs. What did you see from them against the Panthers?
Loved what Buffalo was able to do yesterday. And I know you're right. It wasn't a blowout game, but they were able to cover the spread.
They found a way.
They were able to cover the spread. I thought for sure, and Andrew Ortenberg, we did the show yesterday, and he was on the under 44.5. Yeah. And it was like I think it was either third down or fourth down. Buffalo had it in the red zone late, and it was at like the 15-yard line. And if Buffalo just picked up the first down, they would have been able to take a knee. But they scored a touchdown instead, and it crushed Andrew's under. But it was a front door cover for Buffalo. So the Bills able to cover the spread. Good for them. Doesn't really matter in terms of what their playoff number was. They were going to win that game, and the number was going to move regardless. But what we were able to talk about last week in last week's Back to the Futures column was the Bills at plus 350 to win the AFC East. Yeah. That was a really favorable number because I thought the schedule was breaking positively for Buffalo down the stretch. New England was red hot, so the number moved heavily in their favor, but they had a tough game on Saturday night against the Colts. The first leg of that was Indy winning. They did. And then Buffalo taking care of business on Sunday. That plus 350, it's plus 250 on FanDuel. It was plus 350 other shops. Hopefully you got the better number. Now it's plus 130. And now you have a decision to make this week because Buffalo on the money line is like plus 110 against New England this week. Yeah. Well, I'd rather take the plus 130 with the AFC East because if they win on Sunday, I think the Bills are going to win the AFC East.
Absolutely. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're an anomaly right now. Mike Tomlin's never gone under 500 in his career, and I didn't think it was going to happen. To win the AFC North, they moved from 10-1 odds to 8-1 odds. And for me, their defense looked incredible. They forced 4 turnovers, shut down the Titans completely. The offense left a little bit to be desired, but they didn't turn the ball over. They won the game. It was a good performance from the Steelers, don't you think?
It was, but I would not bet them to win this division because their last 3 games at Kansas City versus Cleveland, at Baltimore. They're going to be underdogs likely in all 3 of those games. Maybe the Ravens one, they won't be. We'll see who's playing quarterback for Baltimore in 3 weeks. But, to me, if you like Pittsburgh to continue to play well down the stretch, the number to win the AFC North is not a favorable number. I would rather just play them on the money line and then roll it over again on the money line and then roll it over again on the money line because they need to win out in order to win this division, I think, because they're a game behind some of the other teams. And if Cleveland wins tonight, they'll be a game behind all 3 of the other teams in the AFC North. So as good as Pittsburgh's win was yesterday, it was one of our best bets. I was thrilled they were able to come back from an early deficit. I think the number to win the AFC North at 8-1, not as favorable as just rolling over the Steelers on the money line over the next 3 weeks, because as we said, at Kansas City, I think they're 10-point underdogs in that game. They are. So that is a game where, listen, if the Chiefs continue to play well, I think they'll win. But if you like Pittsburgh to continue to, rise up the standings, the money line rollover is how I would play the Steelers down the stretch, not the AFC North division future.
Yeah, another AFC North division future, though, that's way up there in the standings. Cincinnati Bengals, plus 230, moving to plus 160. Big win over the Broncos. The offense wasn't necessarily racking up points, but the defense stepped up when they needed to. And 3 big field goals from Evan McPherson. It's kickers, man. It's all about the kickers. What do you see from them?
These is a feisty Bengals bunch. That was a feisty win yesterday. So
you hated what you saw happen to Teddy Bridgewater, though. That sucked.
Oh man.
I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I think he is. I think it was just a concussion from what I saw.
When they took the face masks, that scares me.
Really scary. I totally agree. And he's been through that before. Now, the last major injury he had was a leg injury.
Yeah.
So, obviously, but he almost lost his leg. I mean, it was really bad, his leg injury from a few years ago. He came back and, with the Vikings and was able to, make his way back to the NFL with Carolina. And now he's kind of resurged his career. But so tough there. But on the Cincinnati side, this is an interesting division. And I was in on their prop 4-1 or their future 4-1 to win the AFC North. Sold it last week because I have no idea who's going to win this division. But I will say this. Cleveland right now is plus 240 to win the North. Right now, the Bengals are favored. The Ravens are right there. I think the Bengals and Ravens are 1A, 1B. And then there's a little bit of a gap between them and the Browns. And I think if the Browns win tonight, they will be the favorite in the division because they will be the first place team if they win tonight.
Yeah.
So if you like, we'll get to this later when we get to the Browns-Raiders game. But if you like the Browns to win tonight, not a bad idea to also sprinkle the Browns plus 240 to win the North. because I think those are very correlated bets. And I think you might actually see a favorite, Cleveland, a team in the Browns favored to win the AFC North come Tuesday if they're able to win tonight.
Yeah. All right. Time to get into some Monday morning therapy. This is like my favorite thing that we do. So grab your coffee, Jared. Do you have it?
Yes, I have my coffee.
Grab your coffee because I know that you're really devastated about the Bucs losing yesterday. Okay. We'll break down the NFL team that's driving us nuts for the week when you bet on them. Or in my case, I'm betting on a team that usually drives me nuts. And this week it was a good result. But we'll start with you, Jared. We'll start with you. We'll start with the negative and with the positive. Okay. Bucs, they screwed you over yesterday. They screwed you over.
They did. They lost the Tampa Bay Bucs with Tom Brady at quarterback lost the football game, a professional football game, by a final score of 9-0.
Come on now.
No idea. Good luck trying to explain that one in a month when the Bucs are in the playoffs.
Did you see Tom Brady take his tablet and absolutely chuck it to the side?
That reminds me of when I do something that our producer Jack doesn't like, and he'll start, tossing his computer all over the place. He gets very frustrated.
We can't see it because we're not in the same room.
No, I could see it though. We've got the little camera on him that we do the pre-show meetings with. No, I'm just kidding. Jack is a very even-keeled, individual. He would never do such a thing, wreck some technology. But that's how I felt last night. I was going to take my iPad and just chuck it across the room. We've been doing the NFL best bets obviously for 15 weeks. It's week 15. And I haven't had a perfect week yet. I have not had an unblemished record yet. I've had some good weeks, some 4-1s, 5-1s. But if the Bucs would have just won the game and covered the last leg of my 10-point teaser, I would have had a perfect week in best bets, 5-0-1. And I don't even know what to say. That was probably the second weirdest result of the year.
You hate to play the what-if game, Jared.
I know.
To play the what-if game.
But behind the Bills losing to the Jags, I'd be willing to bet that was the most unpredictable result of the NFL season. I know that the Lions won yesterday, and we'll get to your
don't steal my thunder.
I don't want to steal your thunder.
Don't steal my thunder.
But the Bills losing to the Jags, and then the Saints beating the Bucs 9-0. I don't even know. But you know what? It's over. We had a winning week. I'm not going to complain too much, even though it is a complaining session. It's what we do in therapy, right? Complain.
Well, mine is not going to be complaining. So
yes, you're a happy person.
Happy news. The Lions won yesterday against a 10-win Cardinals team. Double-digit underdogs. No one expected this to happen. Jared Goff looked like superhuman out there. 3 touchdowns. They beat the Cardinals 30-12. I think this is the most shocking upset of the season so far. For everyone that knows, obviously I'm from Detroit. I bet the Lions money line every single week just because you got to bet on your team. Some weeks I sprinkle it. Some weeks I go big on it. This week I sprinkled because I'm like, there's no chance. But you know what? I do it every week. I'm still going to do it. Love this for the Lions. This is the 3rd time since 1970 that a team with the NFL worst record has beat a team with the best, or at least tied for the best record. Only the 3rd time since 1970. That's 51 years that this has been in the running, okay? Arizona hasn't had a road loss all season, but I think this is just a testament to Dan Campbell and what he's been doing for this Lions team. They could have given up, quit at any moment. They're still fighting. They're playing hard every week. I love what I saw from them. They deserved that one, man. They deserved that win.
You deserved it. The Lions fans have had a rough year. Lions fans have had a rough season. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for Arizona finally losing on the road, because I'd rather them lose on the road now than in the playoffs, because we're heavily not heavily, but I've got a nice little future on Arizona. I'd like to see them get to at least the NFC divisional round. It doesn't look like they're going to have a bye now because of what Green Bay has been able to do. And I'd be a little concerned for Arizona right now. I am. They've lost 2 in a row now, and they look a little bit sluggish.
But that might be a little bit of an overreaction Monday. You know what I mean?
Could be. But now they've lost 2 games in a row. It's not just one game. It's now 2 straight weeks. But you know what? That was a tough spot. It was a tough spot for Arizona. Short week after that Rams physical game against the Rams. And the Lions played really well. They took advantage. They jumped out to a big lead. They looked like like the 10-win, 11-win team yesterday, not the Cardinals.
You love to see it. Merry Christmas to me. Don't call it a streak, baby, but it might be a streak. We'll see what happens next week. 1 win. Who knows?
I wouldn't be shocked if they they faced the Falcons this week.
Yeah.
Already saw some line movement towards Detroit.
Yeah.
Never know. Never know. Maybe the Lions. They're not eliminated from the playoffs yet, right?
No.
Mathematically, there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Never know. No, I actually they are eliminated from the playoffs. So let's put that to bed right now.
Hey.
But it was fun while it lasted.
You know what? There's always next year and there's always next week for a money line win. So we'll see what happens.
True.
Speaking of Monday Night Football, we're spoiled today. 2 Monday Night Football games, not 1, but 2. And talk a little bit more about it. Let's bring in Gilles Gallant, sports betting analyst for FTN Bets, host of Touchdown Town and Dog Day Afternoon with Bets Media. Did I say your name right? Gilles Gallant?
Good enough, Lauren. I'll take it.
Okay.
I think the S is silent, right?
Have the hard G or the soft G for both the first and last name.
I could call you Laren, maybe. That would just a little
I like
there.
that.
I don't know.
Yeah, call me Laren. I'm all about it.
Okay, it's all good.
I call her worse most mornings, so that's
this is your show. I'm not going to come out guns blazing that quick.
We're spoiled with 2 Monday Night Football games tonight. First one, Raiders taking on the Browns. Just came out. Baker and Case Keenum didn't test out of COVID protocols. Gilles, what are you expecting from this one?
Yeah, this one's tough because honestly, with this one, I find it difficult to kind of project what the Browns offense is going to be. I think we've seen obviously Nick Mullins play, but I mean, that was kind of in San Francisco system and just some of these weapons, like we might not even know if like Jarvis Landry is going to be back or Austin Hooper is going to be back yet. I know that we saw the news about Baker, but they still haven't announced yet about those 2 skill players. So that could basically be a trickle down when it comes to the Browns offense on who you want to bet for like touchdown scores or, off shooting props like that might correlate as well. I did end up kind of narrowing down some guys that I would bet for touchdown scores. The problem is that I'm probably going to have to wait until closer to kickoff before I would feel comfortable. And that's usually something that I don't like doing because typically you get the best value at the start and then the books react. And then you're kind of sitting there. Even if you have some CLV, it can give you a little nice feeling here. So for me already, I'm looking at Foster Moreau and Hunter Renfrow. Both of those 2 guys right now are at FanDuel at plus 270 and plus 200. I mean, the Browns, they've given up 8 touchdowns to tight ends this season. That's third worst in the NFL. And while Renfrow, like he's only scored once over the past 3 weeks. But if you just look at his numbers, like the volume alone is worth betting at plus 200. He has 30 catches, 33 targets, 6 red zone targets in that span. So you kind of almost you kind of have to force it there when you get it at plus 200. I would say that with the Raiders, I probably feel a little more confident in betting on their touchdown scores or props comparatively to Cleveland, just because we're not really sure what kind of Browns offense we're going to see tonight. Yeah. I would also say, though, for the Browns, as a result of that, I do like the idea of betting on D'Ernest Johnson at plus 260. That's available at BetMGM because with no Kareem Hunt, we've seen the backup running backs be able to succeed in this offense pretty much the entire year, and even D'Ernest when he's gotten his opportunities. So getting that kind of at plus 260 against this Raiders run defense, which has given up, let me just double check here. Yeah, 18 touchdowns to running backs this season. That's bottom 3 in the NFL. So I think both Chubb and D'Ernest could have a big day. But then I also kind of like David Njoku if Austin Hooper's not going to play. He's at plus 260 at BetMGM, and they've given up a touchdown to a tight end in 4 of the last 5 games. So right now, of the touchdown scores, again, I don't feel great about it just because I'm probably going to have to wait until closer to kickoff. I might not even be able to get these odds. It might be a little bit lower by the time we get to kickoff. But if you're willing to roll the dice and think that, this is kind of what we're projecting and based on the COVID protocols, these are 4 solid touchdown bets that I think can get you paid tonight.
I think Hooper's out because Rappaport just tweeted out the only activation that the Browns made was a safety. And they elevated 7 players from the practice squad.
Yeah, Njoku so then slots right in there.
100%. Njoku definitely is on the list. Here's the issue tonight. A lot of the sports books are probably going to be very aggressive moving these numbers as the day wears on. Because now that we're getting rosters, I'll be honest, a little earlier than I expected here at 10:20 Eastern time to get some updates on these rosters. I was waiting or expecting to wait all day. And Gilles, that's been the toughest part for me. This week is just, I'm usually an early bettor in the NFL, and I put 0 bets on my early birds card this week because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen the following week. And that's where we project ahead. So with all these the COVID spikes and all the issues, like how have you been kind of, navigating this market over the last few days? Because it's been really tough.
Honestly, and I mean, I don't really feel like I get much of an edge comparatively to other people, but you literally are just setting your notifications to Schefter and Rappaport and just kind of hoping that your player doesn't get ruled out going into the game, especially if you're betting props. For the edges of sides and totals, I feel like a lot of those, like I want to say the odds makers they're sharper with those and can bake those, those injuries or, people who are going to be ruled out. I kind of feel like they have much more of an edge on that. Whereas with the prop market, it's such a reactionary trickle down method here that sometimes you can get value, other times you can get burned as a result. So I think with this one, I'm with you, Jared, man. You just kind of have to, certain games, you may have to just say, you know what, I might just have to not bet this. And just kind of, and I generally don't like that because I like to have some action, for games, but also at the same time, you don't want to force it because really you're just kind of throwing darts at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for this game at the under 41.5. For me, you look at on one side, it's basically a bad offense against a solid defense, right? And then on the other, a bad defense going up against what is probably going to be like a practice squad offense in with the Browns, plus Nick Chubb and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like, how, you know what I mean? Like how do you navigate the over/under for a game like this?
I think you're already on it. I think the under is probably the way to go, just because the only way that I think that this over is happening is that there's going to be shenanigans. Like it would be like defensive touchdowns.
First of all, I
love the shenanigans
and stuff that you don't really anticipate or plan for. So, you could say that, I mean, if you're going to take an over bet, you might as well look at a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown as well, because that's probably where the offense is going to be generated, or from turnovers on short fields. Because that's, so you might want to look at interception props. Really, I think you can only get Carr right now. I don't think Mullins prop is out there at this stage, but I mean, you could even in play, drive by drive results or something along those lines as well. So I think that's the only way that you could really convince me that you're going to see a ton of points in this game.
Yeah,
I think this game's a layoff for me. And I hate to lay off a game completely, Browns, right? But I do. I think this is an okay spot on a weird rescheduled game. And I never want to, obviously it's a gambling show. We want to advise people on how best to bet. I think you can't go wrong with either of my two, counterparts here with their picks. But I think this is a layoff for me. I think I'm washing my hands of this one.
I think that's a fair conclusion. Like I kind of had that conclusion a few days ago because it was just so up in the air and I was getting frustrated. A couple of bets that I had locked in.
Really frustrated.
Yeah, like it was just
because we're going to have all these great angles and then the game's going to start and, Stefanski's going to have this crazy scheme to try. And on the other side, who knows what the Raiders are going to do, their coaching situation, it's been a mess all year with the Raiders off the field. And now I think this is just, I think it's okay to just say, you know what, white flag.
Well, Jared, how excited would you have been to bet this game if there weren't COVID issues?
I will say this, the Browns from I remember the opening number 6.5 on Sunday night. From 6.5 to a pick 'em, the Browns in a teaser with everyone being healthy would have been, especially after, well, I guess the game would have been Saturday. So they wouldn't have known that the Steelers were winning and the Ravens were losing and the AFC North is just wide open. But the Browns can win. The Browns can take over first place tonight in the AFC North. So just the Browns to win this.
It shakes my head to even think about thinking about, because every single AFC North game I find I just loathe watching, especially the matchup, just because it's like watching guys running in quicksand and just like cinder blocks on their feet. Like it's so hard to watch those games. And then even again, like you think about all the people who were just like all in on the Packers yesterday and then just watching the Ravens, who probably like they were 10.5-point underdogs around that stage. And Tyler Huntley looked just as good and in some spots probably better than Lamar Jackson did. Or even
Lamar is in trouble. That's a Wally Pipp situation waiting to happen right there.
Well, no joke, Jared. I was all in on Myles Gaskin to have 2 touchdowns yesterday, and people can't wait to tell me about, you should have saw Duke Johnson. I had him at 50-1 to get 2 touchdowns, and I'm just like, okay, congrats, nice hit. But at the same time, that's the kind of NFL that we're dealing with right now, where these guys just jump off the practice squad and just completely rip apart any notion that you have of what you think is playing.
I'll say this. I just saw the line flip at Westgate. Westgate just flipped it. Vegas is now 1-point favorite. If Westgate or if other books push that to 3, I'll take 3 with the Browns. Mm-hmm. If the Browns line gets to 3, I will bet the Browns +3. If it doesn't, I think this game is – I say that now, it's 10:30. Maybe my mind gets changed. But this game is a done and dusted. You heard it here
first, people. You heard it here first.
Moving on. Maybe not, but right now, no play for me officially. But I do like the Moreau and the Renfro touchdown bets.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. I think the touchdown bets for the Raiders, I think, are solid. Yeah, because again, we know what we're getting. And again, really, where can you even hang your hat on safety in this game? There's not really much into it as far as conclusions are concerned. But I think in this instance, betting on Raiders offensive props is probably the only thing that I can really endorse at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
One more Monday Night Football game tonight. We're spoiled today. Vikings taking on the Bears.
This one I'm excited about because the Bears offense to me is a little underrated with Fields at quarterback. I think they can move the ball a little bit better than people anticipate, but their defense is so bad. They can give up a ton of touchdowns too. So we're sitting right now, I think, with a total of 44.5. I think that's going to go over. I've got 3 touchdown bets for tonight. 2 of them are Vikings. One of them is going to be the Bears. We'll start with the Bears. I'm going with Justin Fields at +300. I was able to get that at Bet365. And the Vikings, they're bottom 10 in rush yards allowed per game to opposing quarterbacks. And Justin Fields, like you watched him in his first start back, just 74 yards against a defense that I think is much stronger than the Bears. I really just he's one of those players that if he does tuck and run, I do trust his ability to kind of go through the tackles and break a tackle to get to the end zone, comparatively to say if I was betting on like Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts, maybe, for example, who are more relying on their quickness than what Fields does. So Fields at +300. I mean, I would bet it as low as +250, maybe +240. I've seen him there at DraftKings and FanDuel right now, but I just went for the little bit higher odds. So that's my first pick. That's one pick that I love today. I also love his over on the rush yards tonight as well. That's at 37.5. Again, for a lot of the same reasons, ran for 74 yards. Like he's averaging like 6 yards per rush this year. Again, that's like top 5 for all quarterbacks. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of doubling down on Fields tonight for this game. Now, for the Vikings, KJ Osborne is +200 right now to score a touchdown at FanDuel. And I think that's completely a misprice because they're still listing Adam Thielen as potentially to play. He's not going to probably play. He didn't practice at all this week. I'm not saying that, he wouldn't play or maybe give it a go, maybe as a decoy, but if you didn't practice all week, I doubt that you're going to be out there for more than just a couple, token snaps kind of thing. And in the 2 games that he's played since with Thielen getting hurt against the Lions and then last week against the Steelers, 7 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And they're already shorthanded at wide receiver too, because when I was reading D.J. Westbrook and Dan Chestnut, they're going to both be out with COVID tonight as well. So they're kind of depleted from a pass catching standpoint. So really it's Osborne and Justin Jefferson. For the most part, they're going to be playing a lot of the wide receiver snaps. So I think Jefferson and Osborne could both have big days because the Bears, they've given up 17 touchdowns to wide receivers this year, and 5 of those just in the last 3 games. So I can't see the Bears secondary giving up too much resistance against this passing offense. And then a lot of the same reasons that I'm betting on Osborne, I'm going to go with Tyler Conklin as well at +250 at DraftKings. He's second on the team in red zone targets. Again, the Vikings pass catcher is very depleted, so I think he's going to have to run more routes than normal. And the Bears, they've been kind of decent versus tight ends this year, but over the last 5 games, they've allowed like an average of, let me just double check here. Yeah, 5 catches, 40 yards to the position over the last 5 games and 3 touchdowns in that span. So at +250, I'm taking a shot on Tyler Conklin to be able to get to the end zone for this. So that would be the 3, KJ Osborne, Tyler Conklin, and Justin Fields.
Love it.
Yeah. I know. I like that a lot. Jared, are you on this game at all? Is this a stay away for you too?
No, this is not a stay away for me. So I'm on the over. That's a full unit play for me.
All 3 of us are on the over, baby.
I know, it's scary. And the reason why this is a great touchdown prop game is because the total's low, relatively low. 44.5 in NFL terms is relatively low. And we all think it's going to go over, which means if we think the game's going to go over and there's going to be a lot of points, but the total's low, that means the touchdown props are priced a little bit lower. Yeah. Which means you are going to get some inherent value with not only the guys that Gilles talking about, but even the bigger guys, even a Dalvin Cook, even a Justin Jefferson, because that total probably should be maybe 45, 46. In fact, I just saw it tick up to 45.5 as we were recording this right now, or as we're live right now. We're not recording this, excuse me, because I'm so used to recording segments these days. It's crazy. But I think this is a perfect spot to get in not only on the over, but again, those touchdown props, because you are getting a relatively low number. The Fields rushing prop to me is like the top of your card tonight. Mm-hmm. They're out. Allen Robinson is out. They've got a bunch of other weapons out on offense. This is a Justin Fields game, left, right, and center. They're at home. They're facing a divisional opponent. And I just don't like the way this Vikings defense has played lately. They just give up a ton of points to the Lions. They're giving up a lot of points left and right.
Lions, baby.
No, go Lions. So not only do we have a low total game that we think is going to go over, but we have a rushing prop on a quarterback that is relatively low. And I'll throw in one. So I love all the touchdown props Gilles gave out. I'll throw out one more, and I'm curious what you guys think. How about Jakeem Grant at plus 350 to score a touchdown tonight? He's been a guy that's been electric. And again, no Allen Robinson. There's a lot of issues on the wide receiver group for Chicago. So I can really see a guy like Jakeem Grant. Mooney's the other guy that is, noteworthy for the Bears. But Goodwin's doubtful. Robinson is out. It's going to be Kmet, Mooney, Montgomery, and Grant as really the only pass-catching weapons for this Bears team. So I'm on all three of Gilles' plays. I'm on Grant at plus 350. I'm on the Fields rushing prop, and I'm on the over. I've got 6 bets tonight for this game. Hopefully, all the props are quarter units, though. So I go volume there, but I usually decrease my risk. The only full unit bet I have tonight is the over 44.5, which you can't get anymore. Got to pay 45.5. I still would bet it, though, 45.
Yeah. So for me, the one thing I was going to say is with Jakeem Grant, like you could get more value, or at least correlated value, if you were to look at maybe a Chicago defensive special teams touchdown as well. Because
he returns kicks and punts.
People who were doing this last week, where they were doing the same game parlay of Jakeem Grant and Chicago defensitive special teams touchdown and getting
that is a tremendous same game parlay.
Yeah, but
he scored receiving touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Yeah, so I think. Listen, I think that's I'd maybe sprinkle that, but I think just the plus 350. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it was more just. I know that a lot of people who follow me, they DM me like, "What's your long shot? What do you like for
that's a long shot."
Yeah.
And that would be the one that I would.
Let me see if I'll parlay that right now and see what the odds are. Let's see. So it's because I'm always fast because I've done those touchdown parlay props in the Super Bowl before, and they can be really fun. All right, so a Bears defensive special teams touchdown with Jakeem Grant. That is, they won't let you parlay it. They're getting wise to you.
No.
They're getting wise to you, Gilles. You can't parlay that. They're giving you the old. I think they flagged that one.
And rightfully so. They were getting burnt. There's a couple of people that I was seeing doing that, and then also did it like with the Jets yesterday, doing like Braxton Berrios, because a lot of their thinking is, okay, I'm going to take the kick returner and I'm going to parlay it with a defensive special teams touchdown and basically double down on the value.
It's amazing.
And, it didn't work out from a kick returner standpoint, but Tua obviously gave up that awful pick 6 near the end of the game there. But and that was probably closer to like 25-1 as well. So just interesting ways and edges that you could find for touchdown props. I'm a little more old fashioned, just a nice solid 1 unit per bet and just kind of ride with it. And just a nice little anytime touchdown guy. From a first touchdown standpoint, I mean, I'm not really going to argue with Dalvin Cook. Like if you can get him at plus 250.
I literally was just about to say Dalvin Cook. I sprinkled it on the first touchdown, but I'm also taking his over 113.5 rush receiving yards and anytime touchdown. I looked though, it is crazy how much sometimes these touchdown props differ from sportsbook to sportsbook. So you look at FanDuel, it's minus 260. But you look at BetMGM, it's minus 110. So you get it on BetMGM, it's a little bit better value. But I also sprinkled it on the first touchdown of the game at plus 600.
Well, you're preaching basically the main strategy when it comes to really props in general, but especially touchdown props, because there's such a wide variety of odds that you can find for all these different players. And you really have to shop around if you want to get the best value, because See, I'm the type of guy, because I bet touchdown scores regularly. I
Yeah.
rarely bet anything below plus 200, just because
Yeah.
you're rarely getting value if you bet it long term like that. But when you can get guys like, if you like, what was it like last week, for example, Justin Jefferson was like plus 110. Like that's an obvious bet. Like, but at the same time, if I'm considered a touchdown expert, I guess I kind of feel like I don't really have to tell you to bet Justin Jefferson. Like if you are even a casual fantasy football player, you probably are aware that Justin Jefferson's pretty good. So if you want tips or advice for me to tell you to bet Justin Jefferson, sure, I'll tell you. But at this point, this is first grade reading at this point.
Yeah. Speaking of Justin Jefferson, we have a question in the chat. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson over 95.5 receiving yards. What do you think?
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I would never bet under on him. I mean, he's ridiculous. I thought they were going to double team him in that Steelers game, and he still went nuts.
Well, the one thing that kind of stunk for that game too is his over under was 80, and I think he finished with 79. So I had a lot of people who were DMing me being like, "Check out this bad beat," and I was like, "Oh."
The numbers are really sharp this time of year. I'll be honest. The top guys are not guys that I really want to consider. Like the number one option on each team. That it's not that they won't score, it's that the number at this point of the season is correct. So don't bet the correct number, that because if you bet a correct number, you're betting a bad number, because you have to pay the book usually 10 to 15 cents a juice. For the touchdown props, it's probably 20, 30 cents. So you at this point, you're not getting a fair number with the top guys because they're priced right at week 15. You're getting better numbers with the lower guys that you think there's upside to. So that's kind of I think that's your strategy. And it's a good strategy because you might not see it in a 1 week scenario, but if you bet him every week, you're not getting a great number with those.
No. And again, you see, if you even just so I host a weekly touchdown scorer show on Bets TV every Sunday. And you'll see in the first 2 weeks, there's obvious guys like Deontay Johnson at plus 200, DJ Moore at plus 210. By the time we get to week 6, week 7, you're not getting those guys at better than plus 130 at best. You know what I mean? So it's good to be ahead of the market, but by the time the market corrects, the market always comes to correct eventually. And it just comes to a point where you actually have to start considering unders for these guys. And generally for me with player props, I'll just won't play it if it's
betting unders is lame.
So for me, I would more look at stuff like plus money options for backup running backs and receivers. One of the things that I love to do is find not this last week, but the past week, Devontae Freeman, his over under receptions prop was 2.5. But it was but the plus money was on the over. And it's why? He's caught 5 balls in 3 of the last 4 games. I thought almost the books were trying to trick me, in a sense, but I was no, I'm trusting that he's going to get this. And then he cashed and those are the kind of props that I'm kind of looking at where it's all right, where am I looking at for maybe a low catch total or a low rushing yard total? Quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts is probably the easiest one to ever look at because they've always been setting his over-under line around 45, 47 yards. And then he runs for 50 fairly easily in nearly every game that he plays. So there are guys that I've kind of highlighted as go-to guys throughout the weeks. And I'm going to ride with those as we go. But you're right, Jared, as the market corrects, you have to be able to pivot. You can't just blindly take the over every time and think that it's going to hit.
Jill, it's been a blast having you on. Thanks so much. Seriously, we really appreciate it. Gilles Gallant, sports betting analyst for FTN Bets, host of Touchdown Town, Dog Day Afternoon with Bets Media. We'll definitely have you on soon. And best of luck with your bets tonight. Thanks for the
Thank you, Laren.
Giles. God, love that. Can you call me Laren from now on? I'm actually going to change my name.
You want me to go Laren?
Laren
I'll call you Laren Fan Jamara.
Laren Jabra. I bet you probably get teased. I bet you get teased a lot the Jabra. I'm sticking with it. Isn't there an earpiece called Jabra? There's a company that makes really? the Bluetooth headsets. You're way more intelligent than me, to be honest.
No, I am not way more intelligent than you. Just slightly more intelligent. Just slightly.
Jared, I know it's Monday, so how do you feel about heading to the beach for the Myrtle Beach Bowl? Let's go between Old Dominion and Tulsa. I know we're kind of on the same side, but for me, I feel like this is one of the most wonderful times of the year, right? It's bowl season. It's a time where if you're Mark Zinno or Alex Glaze, you can drink eggnog, or if you're me, not drink eggnog, but just watch football.
You don't drink eggnog? You don't like eggnog? I as a Jewish person, I'd never really dabbled, but
No.
I know it's not it's a
curdled
non-denominational drink, but it's a
milk.
Christmas drink. It's curdled milk. I mean, I do like milk, and I do like milkshakes.
Anytime I think of eggnog, I just think of
what does it taste
National
like?
Lampoon's Family Vacation, but the Christmas one, and
Uh-huh.
Cousin Eddie with his white sweater and the black like dicky turtleneck underneath it that you can like see the
Cousin Eddie,
and he's drinking his eggnog. That's what I think
hilarious.
of when it comes to eggnog, and then I also just think of the eggnog that my former roommate had in the fridge for 6 months, and I was the one that had to pour it out come July. And that smell, I just like actually I have goosebumps just thinking.
That's a fireable offense for a roommate right there.
It's a fireable offense. It's a fireable offense. Love her anyways. Love her dearly.
All
we
right,
honestly
fair
forgot
enough.
about it like in the back of the fridge. Okay. Anyways. Sorry
Off topic.
Else out. Let's take it to the beach. Let's go on vacation. The Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Let's go to the beach.
Take it on Tulsa. For this one, I like the Old Dominion total over 22.5.
Ooh.
I know. You look in their last 5 games, the Monarchs have averaged 36 points per game. They've failed to score 20 or more points only 3 times this season. And you combine that with a banged up secondary for Tulsa. And this one feels just like a safe bet to me. But I know that we're both on the Monarchs tonight. Why are you taking Old Dominion?
Yeah, it's a nice little, this is, it's not going to be the most attended game probably. You get Tulsa that's 1,100 miles away from Myrtle Beach. And although I will say this, Old Dominion, which is relatively close to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it's ODU's first bowl game since 2016, which I think, I don't want to say that either team has a motivational edge here. Because I think both teams will be motivated. Neither team gets to play in bowl games that much, even though Tulsa wasn't a bowl game last year. So it's really hard to say that either team is more motivated, but I would give a slight motivation edge to ODU because, again, they haven't been in a bowl game in 5 years. Tulsa likes to run. Exactly. Go Monarchs. Tulsa likes to run the ball. ODU's good at stopping the run. So we get a strength versus strength there. We'll see which team wins that battle. Tulsa and ODU have actually been pretty good down the stretch. ODU, remember we were on them a couple weeks ago against Myrtle, outright winner there. That was one of our dumpster dive games. ODU's 5-0 straight up and against the spread this season. They're 9-3 against the number overall this year. So pretty good year for the Monarchs. Tulsa started slow, came on late, almost beat Cincinnati a few weeks ago, 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games. Here's the reason why I like Old Dominion. So in all of Tulsa's wins this year, only one of them has come from by more than one score. And that was a 44-10 beatdown of Temple a few weeks ago. Yeah. And I think Conference USA has been pretty good in these bowl games. And I know, you don't want to go too much off what other teams are doing when you're, handicapping one game. But I do look at conference trends because I do think conferences tend to tell you, prior games with conference opponents, all right, well, this conference is playing pretty well. Maybe their games against each other were a little undervalued. And how about this for Conference USA? 4-1 against the spread. Marshall was the only loser, and they had a late lead in that game. UTEP covered and lost straight up. You had outright wins by underdogs, Middle, Western, and UAB. So Conference USA has been pretty feisty in these bowl games. And I think Old Dominion is going to keep this close. 9 points being a relatively big number. So I'm taking the 9 with ODU here in the Monarchs. Go Monarchs.
Go Monarchs, baby. Basically, you just said everything that I was going to say, so I'm not even going to reiterate it.
We're on the same side.
Well, we're on the exact same side.
Come on, just do it anyways for prosperity purposes. Just so we can post this later and they could give you a little speaking role in the
okay. I love it. Well, Old Dominion is 9-3 against the spread this season. I think Blake Watson has been the factor for them. Has been the factor for the Monarchs. Rusher 168 yards against Marshall, topped 100 yards in 5 of the next 6 games, finished with over 1,000 yards. And he rushed for 1,035 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaging 5.1 yards per carry. He's been the it factor.
I didn't say that. That's new information.
Yeah. I think the game is going to come down to turnovers, right? The Monarchs have the edge. Wolf threw 6 interceptions in 6 starts. Tulsa turned it over 24 times in the year with 18 in the last 8 games. That ain't good. That ain't good.
Tulsa, their quarterback's a little turnover happy from what I was looking at. So I like that. I like that lean a lot.
And then you look at the Monarchs, and their defense has held opponents to just 3.5 carries.
Yeah, the Old Dominion D is pretty good this year.
All season. And then they've also yielded 125 yards per game on the ground, which is 26th in the nation. So I like Old Dominion. Go Monarchs. +9.
Yeah, we're catching 9 with the better defense. I think that's the way to play it. Now, Tulsa could win by 40, and we're going to look like, donkeys tomorrow. But whatever. We'll see what happens.
Hey, you know what? I still feel good about it. I'm a fan. Monarchs are butterflies, right? Go Monarchs. Let's go butterflies.
I think in this particular case, a monarch is meant to be a kingly like I think I don't think they meant this butterflies. There is such thing as a monarch butterfly, but I think in this particular instance, like the ODU helmet crest is like a crown.
See, your face is so red. I'm dead.
Because I don't know how else to break it to you. I think monarch's more, royalty in this case. Like the Sacramento Kings.
We're going to move on to the Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Save me. The Pickswise 3-star play of the day. Hit me with it.
Hold on. I need to scroll up. I think it's an NHL bet here. Jack gave it to me before the show. It's the over 5.5 in the Wild and the Stars. And Tyler Mortimer is on it. And I will say this, the NHL best bets record this season is 37-23. Love to see that. A very kingly best bets record.
They're going to fly into
royalty.
They're going to flap their wings into that over for that.
The Monarch Butterflies. That one was an all-timer. I'm
just going to, I'm going to go figure
But you know what? You sounded so like you were convinced.
Yeah. You know what? You don't have to know what you're talking about. You just have to act like you know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
I think of all the things that you said during that handicap, the butterfly part was hands down my favorite.
Yeah, make sure to leave that in there when we clip it off and put it on Twitter, please. Thank you very much. All right, I'm also on the Wild Stars game for my best bet of the day, the Stars 3-way money line at plus 124. It's crazy right now because a lot of the NHL games are getting postponed through the Christmas break, especially with teams traveling over the border. All of the US Canadian games, any border travel, donezo until after the Christmas break. Well, so we don't have as many games as we normally would, but this is one of the ones that I was looking at that I like. The Wild not playing very well at the moment. They're on a 3-game losing streak. Dallas 5-4-1 in their last 10 against Minnesota. The Stars snapped a 5-game losing streak with a win over the Blackhawks in their last game. The Wild lost 3 straight. The last 2 were on the road. And you look at them during that stretch, they've kind of struggled defensively, giving up 11 runs basically in their last 3 games. They've also struggled on special teams. I think that they're going to have a tough time really slowing down the Stars in this spot and in a game like this. And the Stars have been on a roll offensively. They're at home. They're scoring 4+ goals in 3 of their last 4 home games. They're also looking strong defensively during that run. They gave up only 14 goals in their last 8 home games. So I think with the Wild struggling offensively, while converting only 17% of their power play opportunities, you look at the Stars, they're not going to really have trouble keeping their offense in check. So I'm going to go with Dallas with the win in this one. 3-way money line for best betting value, plus 124. If you're really feeling frisky, bet the puck line for better value. But for a safer bet, I like the 3-way money line. You're still getting it at a plus number. So that's the way I'm going for this one.
Go a little 3-way, 3 and then W. By the way, the chat is loving.
Oh my gosh. 3-way money line.
Love
Let's
it.
Go.
Love that.
Let's go.
3-way money line.
Yeah.
We see, and you know what? We love the 3-way money line.
To me.
Too legit to quit.
That's a TikTok thing.
Oh, I'm not a TikToker, but I will say this. Usually we get like a really like heavy interaction from the chat. The most interaction we've gotten today is the butterfly reference. So people are loving that. They want to know which city are the butterflies from. Can't find them on my coupon. And butterflies are free. Just hammered the butterflies. Hilarious. Absolutely. Thank you guys for making my morning. All right. My best bet of the day.
Oh, man. Okay.
I'm going to the ice. I'm betting the Sabres on the money line. Not the 3-way, straight up money line. They're even. Yep. Although I will say this, the 3-way money line is probably a really good value bet tonight. I might add 3-way money line to the Sabres bet, but they're plus 100 even money right now. Saw this market flip overnight. Columbus, they're facing the Jackets. They're at home, by the way. Yep. The Jackets were favored overnight, minus 115. Now, again, the market's kind of flipped back to Buffalo. I would expect Buffalo to be favored in this game come game time. Here's why. a little bit of positive news for the I was about to say the Bills, for the Sabres. Alex Tuck is going to make his Sabres debut tonight. That is a big deal. Why? He's a Syracuse native, hometown kid. He's been dreaming of suiting up for the Sabres. Of course, his last game was in the Vegas Golden Knights semifinals of the playoffs last year when they lost to Montreal. And, in the offseason got moved to Buffalo, and he's been waiting to suit up, but he's been, out with a shoulder injury. So that's going to be a boost, I think, for the Sabres. And Buffalo's been playing pretty well. I know they just lost a game in overtime to the Penguins, but they're 2-0-2 in their last 4 games. So they haven't lost in regulation in their last 4. And the Jackets are struggling, 2-7-1 in their last 10. They're coming off a bad loss to Edmonton. And now we're getting this weird COVID situation happening in the NHL. And this is the first of a home and home for these two teams. They're going to play again in Lumbee on Thursday. So I feel like Buffalo is going to win their first game at home, and then the Jackets will probably answer with a win at home on Thursday. And I think we're getting a really good price here, plus 100. I expect the Sabres to close as a favorite in this game. So if you can get the even money now, decent bet. And if you want to sprinkle on the three-way, little three-way action here on a Monday, I don't mind it either. But my official play,
money line, let's go.
Wish we can play the butterflies on the three-way money line.
Okay,
that would be perfect.
I'm wrapping to the show on that note. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. That's it for us. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith. I'm Laura Jabbar. Best of luck tonight. Let's go butterflies. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.